Right.
Hello, this is John Durant and Brenda Lombardi and baby George. We're doing dating steps, and I'll go ahead and start things off here. We're going to make sure that the board looks a little bit differently when we actually do this, but because we don't have a nice big whiteboard, we're going to kind of combine things. So we're going to continue. We've been talking about communication, relationships, friendship, and giving of yourself completely to one another, or developing yourself as a total person. And we just finished talking about making good choices with your sexual powers. So that kind of lays the foundation for what we're going to talk about now, and that's dating. Okay, everybody likes dating. Raise your hand if you like dating. Yeah. Personally, I didn't like dating when I was young. That was really hard.
You just raised your hand.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to encourage you guys to raise your hands, but
it was an opinion poll.
Yeah, I was. You know, I told you guys I was kind of young and didn't really have a lot of girls that were interested in me. And it's kind of funny because my boys, they matured really quickly. So here they are, freshmen and sophomores, and all the girls are asking them out. And I wasn't that lucky. They asked me advice for dating, and I'm like, well, I don't really have much to give you because I didn't really do a lot of dating. But as you'll find out, that can be a good thing, okay? So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and what I want you to do is if you agree with it, I want you to stand up proud. And if you disagree with this, just remain seated. And then if you're not quite sure, just kind of stand up halfway, okay? So the first question is, two people really can fall in love at first sight? No one stood up. Wow. That's one I think there's some healthy disagreement on. I've seen some people that literally from the very first date, you know, they ended up getting married, but that's very, very rare. So I think for the most part, you guys are right. It's very difficult to fall in love at first sight. Okay, secondly, single dating is the best way to get to know people of the opposite sex. Okay, everybody's sitting down. I think you guys are good there. Yeah, and we'll learn a little bit more about that here shortly. Okay, steady dating is a natural step to a lifetime commitment in marriage. All right, got some people standing up, some not quite sure. Okay, next question. It usually takes some time to get to know someone's beliefs and values about life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's standing up. My wife and I, we've been married for 19 years and we're still working on that. There's still things I find out about her every day that I didn't know. And you know, the nice thing too is that you change. So, you know, my wife is not the same person that she was when we met and got married, and it's, you know, a wonderful experience to get to know a person for the rest of your life. Okay, next step, or next question, dating in high school is absolutely necessary to being happy. Okay, good, you guys are sitting down. And as I told you, I didn't even date in high school. Didn't even date, and I was very happy. And I'm kind of glad that things worked out that way for me. Okay, final question, steady dating limits friendships with others. Okay, yeah, everybody's standing up. And that's true. You know, it's interesting that I'm doing this because my son is a sophomore and he's really just started dating, okay? And that's one thing that he was concerned about because he likes a girl, but he's kind of found that if he focuses just on her, he doesn't get to know some of the other girls. And he's really made the determination that he's not going to steady date. He's just going to you know, get to know a lot of different people, and that's a good thing. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you think the purpose of dating is? Does anybody have an answer for that?
Having fun.
Having fun. Yeah, that's part of it, having fun. But there's a lot of different ways to have fun in life. But what's really focusing on dating itself, what do you think the purpose of dating is? Having fun doing what? Yes?
Well, I think dating is a way to sort of start determining what kind of person might be right for you as a spouse.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And you know, as I told you, you know, I didn't develop real quickly, and the other disadvantage I have is that I grew up with two boys, two brothers. Okay, so I didn't even know what girls were, and I kind of stayed away from them. I was intimidated by them, and you know, it's nice to get to know girls when you're in that environment. You know, because we all have to you know, reach out to members of the opposite sex, you know, when we're young, and just see what marvelous differences there are between boys and girls. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've got some cards that you guys were given, and we've got 6 different dating steps, and what we want you to do is try and figure out which one of those cards goes with which step. So the first step that we have is same-sex friends. So does anybody have a card that they think describes what that means? Okay. Great. Same-sex friends. Learn what it means to be a genuine friend. You know, again, I told you, my wife and I, we've been married for 19 years, and I think the most important thing in marriage is being friends. You know, you have to share some things in common and to have a healthy friendship. So you start working on that right as soon as you start having your first friend. You know, what does it mean to share? What does it mean to be unselfish? What does it mean to think about other people and to see how your actions affect them? Funny story real quick, you know, when I went to college, my roommate, he never had a brother. So he used to wake up and he would turn the light on and make lots of noise. And I'm like, don't you realize that I'm still trying to sleep? But it's like something that he never even thought about because he didn't have a brother or sister that complained. So it's kind of like that with friends. When you're surrounded by other people, you realize that people are different than you and you have to learn to relate. So that's what healthy friends of the same sex will allow you to do. Okay, the next one is opposite sex friends. Okay, learn to have fun with and appreciate the opposite sex. So again, kind of looking at my own experience in high school, I was very intimidated by girls, but I ran cross country, and that was a lifesaver for me because we had the boys and the girls together, and it wasn't you know, an environment that was you know, dating, so I didn't feel scared about it or intimidated. But it's like the first opportunity I had to really get to know the differences between boys and girls and to appreciate those differences and just think about which of those girls I might be interested in dating. You know, I had a crush on one girl for 4 years. I don't think she ever even knew it. I don't think I told her to this day. But, you know, it's like, right now, looking back after 19 years of marriage, I can see all these girls that I liked, and there's qualities that they had that my wife has. So it's a really easy way to try and come up with your ideal image of who you want to marry, because you see some of those qualities all around you, and you can appreciate them. Okay, the next one, let's see, friendly dating. Someone have one of those? Friendly dating. Got 4 cards left. Help shape our, okay, and I kind of jumped the gun there, but I think you're right. Help shape our ideal image of our future spouse. So, you know, my son, he's a sophomore, he just started dating, and what he does is he goes out on, quote, dates, but there's like 6 or 7 couples that they go see a movie together, and then they just go get pizza. So, that's a great way of dating because it's not like all the effort is focused on just you and that other person. And you can have fun, it shows that you're interested in other people, and you start forming those relationships one-on-one. But again, there's so many other people there that you can interact, and it's just a wonderfully healthy way to look at that person that you like as well as other people and begin to shape that ideal version of a spouse. Okay, so Brenda's going to continue on steps 4, 5, and 6 now.
Okay, the next one is serious, steady relationship. Who has that one? Who knows the purpose of this step? All right, right here. Great. Serious, steady relationship. What kind of spouse would he or she be? Now, during this time, this is a really big step, and in a relationship at this time, you're much closer and tighter, and it's a more exclusive relationship. And what you're doing now is you're actually committing all your time to dating this one person. Timing is so important. I don't know with you parents out there if you remember when you started steady dating your husband, but that is a time where you really have to start developing yourself. And we talk about our spice flower and how important it is to really know yourself when you're going to choose this step. And it's a serious step. And we talked about on the road to adulthood as well. In regards, this is where you're really developing your spice qualities. And getting to know yourself and develop in all areas. And you know, if you are planning on finishing college before you get married, is it good to start dating steady when you're in middle school or high school? Parents, ask your teen that question, because I told my son, no way. So what's the next one? Engagement. Who thinks they have engagement? Right, engagement. Deciding to be emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually bonded. Okay, this one is a huge step, and it really is about engaging on a decision. It often involves planning the wedding. Now, it's funny, I think our culture, if you watch TV, everyone's planning a wedding, right, today? It's that Kardashian complex. Well, as we know, the engagement isn't all that goes into a wedding and getting married. There is so much more. It's about talking about your future dreams and your goals and how you're going to plan out your life together. There are some great programs that the Catholic Church puts on, pre-Cana programs, and in order to figure out all these things that you need to know before you get married in the engagement step. How are you going to deal with your finances? How are you going to raise your children? So many things. And it's so important that you talk to both families, your future spouse's family and your family about this. And it's really deciding to commit to those decisions about becoming a wife and a husband, building a family together, and loving your children. So it's a big one to consider. So who has, the last one's easy. It's leftover and Rebecca has it. It's marriage. All right. Marriage, free, full, faithful, fruitful, and forever. I always intersect those because theology of the body intersects those. Great way to understand what marriage is. Those are your wedding vows. So at this stage, you are two fully mature spice flowers. Your spice qualities are all developed. And at this point, you're physically bonded, and you have unconditional love for your spouse. And your spouse becomes your best friend. Now, it's kind of hard to believe that we started right down here with same-sex friends. And it's so important to know that dating isn't related with age. What it's really related with is readiness and experience. And again, it's really okay that if you don't choose to friendly date until after high school. Again, especially because if your intent to marry is after college. So I just really want to make that point to parents. And that it is so important before you marry that you know yourself. And parents, at this time, I just want to share with you that it's so important that you help your son or daughter get through these appropriate steps in dating. And we're going to help you to do that by having you get into your teen notebooks on page 23. If you can turn the page to 23, we would like to help you get started on dating guidelines. So we're going to go over these next 4 questions. So what I'd like you to do is take a minute. We'll work on the first one. And that one is talk to your teen. Parents, I want you to be coachable to your teens. And teens, know that your parents have so much experience in this. They've dated, or maybe not like John, who never dated before, but of course you dated your wife, right? So you have that experience that you can share with your sons. So the first question, again, it's on page 23, dating, not one giant leap, but a lot of smaller important steps. What step are you on now? So parents, I want you to discuss, and teens, what step are you on now as a teen? Are you just hanging out with your girlfriends and boyfriends, or are you doing some group activities with opposite? Or are you already at that steady relationship? So I'd like to solicit any feedback. So what step are you on?
Probably in between 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay, great place to be. Yeah. Same-sex friends or opposite-sex friends, you hang out with both. What do you hang out with more these days, would you say?
Guess in free time, girls, but like at school, both.
Yeah, like in group activities and things after school and teams that you're on. How do you know that you're going to be ready? How did you answer that one to move on to the next step? How do you think you're ready? How do you know?
My mom tells me.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, parent involvement, that is really important. And that don't move to the next step until you've accomplished it. That's what's really important. Okay, number 2. What qualities will you look for in a person that you would like to date? So take just 1 minute to do this. We're doing on our time. Okay. So any feedback? Can anyone tell me, what type of person do you want to date? What do you look for? What qualities do you look for? Yes.
Trustworthiness.
Yeah, someone you trust. It's really important.
He's kind.
Kind, yeah. Yep, that was important for me.
Smart.
Smart, yep.
Funny.
Funny, yeah, someone who can help you laugh. Great. It's so important that when you look for someone, you're looking for someone who has also similar values than you. That's really important too. Okay, next one, 3. Decide now what guidelines you will set for dating. So parents, I want you to talk to your teens about some of the guidelines. And I want to give you a little tip. There are a tip called the 4 W's. And this is something that you can use if you don't have any guidelines off the top of your head. And those are, you ask your teen, who will you be with? What are you going to be doing? Where are you going? And when are you going to be home? So those are some great tips. So take a second and talk about those and see if those will work with your family.
What are your GPS coordinates?
Okay. Any feedback on that? You guys, what do you think about that? Teens, is that 4 W's? Would that work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about what you don't do on a date for guidelines. Like, what are some things that you wouldn't do when you go out on a date? What are some negative things?
Go someplace where you're alone, no one's around.
Yeah, basically unplanned, right? You don't ever want to put yourself in that situation, and your parents need to know. It's that 4th W is when. It's another thing.
Drink. You wouldn't want to drink.
Yeah, drinking, smoking, drugs. How about all those R-rated movies? Those R-rated movies, yeah, you don't want to be going to that. So there are definitely some guidelines and some caution zones that you want to talk to your teen about. And it's so important that you're really constantly engaging in a discussion with your teen. I have a 15-year-old and I have a 13-year-old. Actually, my 15-year-old isn't dating yet. But maybe it's because he goes to an all-boys Catholic school and I keep him in a bubble. But he does talk to girls by texting. And that's another guideline that although they're not going somewhere to a certain place, that also is a conversation that's going on between the opposite sex that they can become emotionally attached to, and that we have to have guidelines around that. No inappropriate language or sexting. Really important. So as parents today, not only do we have to talk about these physical dates that our children go on, but we have to talk about the technology and them dating through that as well. I think it's really important. So then the last one is, how will you show sexual respect on a date? And teens, I want to hear from you. We have our chastity poster. We don't have it up, but we've talked about chastity throughout this whole last few sessions. And so it's so important that you make sure that you show respect and restraint and reverence in regards to who you are dating. So can you guys give me some feedback? How will you show sexual respect on a date?
Dress modestly.
Yeah, your appearance, right, girls? So important. You remember those boys that are kind of sexually charged are a little bit more forward than you. Let's see how we're doing on timing. Okay, anything else? What else?
I think you have to respect like what that person tells you they're comfortable with and what they aren't. So like if they suggest that you go to a certain, or if you suggest that you go to a certain place and that person really doesn't feel comfortable there, you shouldn't push it. You should just, respect what they say.
Right. Exactly. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the end, about don't ever put someone in a position where they feel uncomfortable. Yeah, and speak kindly and lovingly, even respectfully. No, off-color jokes or try to be funny. I think sometimes guys can do that. Sorry, John, but it's true.
Very true.
So, I want to tell you the next thing, we don't have time to go over it, but on page 21, it's called Practical Helps for Chastity for Boys and Girls. Please, parents, when you leave here, review this with your team. This is so important. I just went over this with my 15-year-old the other day. I'm not kidding. It is such a great sheet to review about how to practice chastity. So at the bottom of the page, we talk about avoiding heartbreak down the road. Isn't it great that we can talk to our teens about how to avoid heartbreak? So I want to give you 4 steps on how to avoid heartbreak. Always consider the other person's best interest. Treat the other person like you would want to be treated, you know, that golden rule. Don't lead someone on, very important, especially for you girls. You know, don't lead the boys on because you know they're sexually charged. And never ever hurt someone spiritually, physically, or emotionally. So, real love, are you tough enough? And I'm gonna...
Okay, we're done now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a skit. And some friends of ours are having a big day, okay? And we're going to learn a little bit more about that. So if everybody could take your seats, we're going to get everything ready for the skit.
All right.